Hello everyone, my name is Vlasta Sikimić and I work on empirical philosophy of science at the University of Tübingen. Today I will discuss with you the interplay between sociopolitical views and epistemic decisions of scientists. Let's start on a funny note. The study finds that hearing an opposing viewpoint causes no real harm. What does that mean? This means that listening to opposing and different viewpoints to our own might be beneficial from the epistemic perspective. In contemporary philosophy, we have a branch of virtue epistemology inspired by Aristotle's theory of virtues, in which one thinks of different epistemic virtues, so attitudes that help us gather knowledge and their corresponding vices. Of our interest will be epistemic tolerance, especially in the scientific context. What is this? In situations in which two researchers disagree with each other and they don't accept the same theory or hypothesis, they still think that the other approach could be a valid point, might be proven right, and they respect it. In this sense, they are epistemically tolerant. Why is this a virtue? Because from the perspective of the scientific community, it can be proven that the challenger is actually right. The corresponding epistemic vice is epistemic authoritarianism, which stands for uncritically accepting views that are dominant in one's field, so a dominant paradigm, or the views of researchers that are dominating the field. The other motivation for our research comes from the debate about value-free science and the idea originated by Max Weber, or frequently attributed to Max Weber, that science should be free of non-epistemic values like political and socio-political ones. Nowadays, it is often claimed that it is very important to incorporate certain moral values in scientific decisions. However, still, we wouldn't like that political orientation makes someone better or worse scientist. From the perspective of social psychology, we do have some evidence that conservatism is related to beliefs about science. This research is mainly done on lay people who, for instance, it was shown that conservativists are more prone to question the theory of evolution. The other aspect of our research was inspired by Kuhn's famous distinctions. So Thomas Kuhn was a famous philosopher of science, and he argued that some sciences are in pre-paradigmatic state. An approximation to that could be social sciences, and some are in paradigmatic state. Those could be natural sciences, where one dominating method or approach is now widely accepted and everybody uses it and follows it. On the other hand, in pre-paradigmatic ones, there are many approaches competing with each other, and as you can already assume, it makes sense to assume that more researchers who don't have only one paradigm in which they are working should be more tolerant and less authoritarian. He also argued that when it comes to formation of young scientists, they usually study from standard textbooks that are focused on dominating views and don't really learn about the diversity and plurality of different views that existed before the dominant one was accepted, and that this can shift. So we wondered whether career stage will influence epistemic attitudes and whether these epistemic attitudes can be trained. Our results were very encouraging because we did not discover strong influence of socio-political attitudes on epistemic ones, only the moderate ones, and we noticed that all of our participants were rather epistemically tolerant and not overly epistemically authoritarian. The main contributions of our paper are the scales for epistemic tolerance and authoritarianism. We also operationalized some other epistemic attitudes inspired by philosophical tradition. These scales perform statistically satisfactory and can be used in further studies. Our sample was large and well-balanced when it comes to a distinction between natural and social sciences. We had 655 researchers filling our survey, and the interplay was detected between social-political views and epistemic attitudes of researchers. However, this interplay was not strong. Just to point out that we measured participants' degree of conservatism on a feelings thermometer, while they self-declared their political orientation. Finally, certain effects of the distinction junior-senior were detected, which is very interesting for further research, and natural social sciences did influence the epistemic values, but again, the difference between them was not very large. So it is rather explainable and not very, very big. About all of this, you can read in our paper that was published last year in the Review of Philosophy and Psychology. And to leave you with some final remarks, we are all only 2 drinks away from being interdisciplinary. However, we should, that's my opinion, be interdisciplinary, because though we can all work by ourselves together, we gather knowledge in a better way, as I believe that philosophy profits from empirical grounding of our normative assumptions, and hope that psychologists also profit from our philosophical framework.